Hi guys, Raphterra here. I hope that you are having an awesome 2021 as always. For today, I'm back with a different kind of video. I'm sharing 4 off-meta decks that can be sure to help you reach Master rank. Before I proceed to the off-meta decks, I'd like to answer a question that I'm pretty sure will be asked in my comment section, which is, out of the meta decks, what deck overall would I recommend if you just want to learn a strong deck and use it to reach Master rank? So I have 3 recommendations for this. The first deck that I would recommend is Sivir Akshan. This is arguably one of the top 3 decks in the meta. Sivir Akshan, if you master it correctly, just because of its sheer power level. If you're an above average player, you will be able to reach Master rank with this deck in no time. For my second and third recommendation, it would be Jarvan Shen midrange and Sin Zoe combo. I believe that these 2 decks are the best to use if you really want to get better at the game. If you're able to reach Master rank with these 2 decks, you're going to be a totally different LOR player, because mastering these decks would mean that you will be able to master the basic LOR fundamentals. With that out of the way, I am now going to proceed to the main topic of the video, which are the off-meta decks that I would recommend that you can use to reach Masters. I'd like to highlight that for each of the decks, I already have a video out. Some even have climbing guides for all of them if you want to see more information about the mulligan, the matchups, and of course, if you want to see gameplay, I'll be putting the link in the description and in the pinned comment for each deck. The first deck in the list is Viktor Akshan Augment combo. The deck is very straightforward. You're using created cards and buff spells in order to level up Viktor and Akshan quite fast. You win the game through big elusive or overwhelm damage through Nyan-Droid, and then you combine that with burn spells like Mystic Shot or Get Excited in order to pin your enemy's Nexus down to 0. This deck is definitely the strongest, the most competitive Viktor deck in the meta right now. It's definitely strong enough to reach Masters. You can see it in my climbing guide. I was able to have a very high win rate with the deck. Also, the main creator of the deck, Faint HD, used this in Master rank. He was able to climb 200 LP with this deck alone. The second deck in the list is Spooky Zombie Ashe midrange. The deck is straightforward. You want to frostbite your enemies, you want to summon multiple Ashes with Rekindler and the Harrowing, and then in the late game you finish off with a Harrowing, as I said before, or a big tempo swing with Rime Fam Den Mother. Frostbite is really good in the meta right now because most of the meta decks are very combat centric, and there's even a chance that Spooky Frostbite might be a bit better than the Ashe Noxus variant, just because it has a better matchup against aggro decks. Because you're running Shadow Isles, we can tech in cards like Vile Feast or other anti-aggro spells in order to help the aggro matchup. Also, out of these 4 decks, I believe that this deck is the most likely deck that you can fit into a seasonal tournament lineup, just because of its anti-meta tendencies and its consistent matchups against aggro. The third deck in my list is Taric Jae Medarda Support Midrange. This deck wants to create massive support chains with Taric and the support units from Targon. You're going to snowball with permanent buffs on your elusive units like Sparklefly or Teemo. And then you can refill your hand with Jae Medarda, the main draw engine of the deck. Jae Medarda is very strong as a draw engine if you combine it with Gems, Pale Cascade, or Guiding Touch. In general, I think the Targon support archetype is extremely underrated by a lot of players right now. I think I saw a similar post in Reddit where he reached Masters with Lulu Taric alone. I believe the Targon support archetype is very strong right now in the meta, especially Tiari the Traveler. I think that this card is slept on by a lot of players. If you can use this card together with Teemo or Sparklefly, you will snowball games out of control. It's also my opinion that this deck is the strongest concept deck for Jae Medarda. I believe Jae Medarda is best used with gems, and I believe that this deck is currently the best deck that you can use to utilize gems. The last deck in my list is Ashe, Shen, Den Mother, Frostbite. This deck is very similar to Shen Jarvan, but instead of using barriers together with challengers, we're mostly using Frostbites together with challengers. Having Freljord as our second regions gives us access to powerful combat tricks like Elixir of Iron and Troll Chant. As you know, Shen decks are board-centric decks. You want to protect your units, so having access to these combat tricks is really amazing. Freljord plus Ionia means that you have Troll Chant, Twin Disciplines, and Elixir of Iron, allowing you to win most combats in the early to mid game. Frostbite decks that can break spell shields without losing too much tempo is really good in the meta right now just because of Ruin Runner and Sivir. With this deck, you're not going to be afraid to use your Frostbites, your spells in order to break a spell shield because you can just cycle them over and over again with River Shaper. If you're able to protect your River Shaper, you almost have unlimited spells. You will see this in action if you watch my gameplay for this deck. I've actually already seen the potential of this deck, I think a patch ago, but the only problem then was that we didn't have an appropriate finisher alongside Ashe. But now with Rhyme Fang Den Mother, we have another win condition outside of Ashe. And that's it for the list. Just a disclaimer, if you just really want to rank up with meta decks, use the 3 decks that I recommended at the start of the video. But if you're like me, if you're a little bit edgy that you want to use off-meta decks in your ranked games, go ahead and use these 4 decks. However, before you craft them, watch the videos, see for yourself if it looks fun to you, see for yourself if it looks competitive to you, if it fits your playstyle, and then go ahead and craft it. With that, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that you're having a nice day. Bye-bye.